Hey everyone, welcome to Mountain Beast Mysteries. In today's video, I wanted to share with you guys some recent footage I shot on a hike out to a place called Hidden Lake, which is very close to the area where I found that Bigfoot track, heard a potential rock clack sound, and maybe saw a UFO flying in the sky very, very early in the morning. Before we get into that, I would like to say that this video is brought to you by Audible. Audible has one of the largest collections of audiobooks and podcasts in the world. They have thousands of titles of audiobooks on pretty much anything you can imagine. I personally, I'm into the Bigfoot topic, I'm into all the mystery topics like UFOs and ghosts, but they do have a huge collection of Bigfoot audiobooks. So if you guys go to audibletrial.com/mountainbeast and sign up for the 30-day free trial, it'll give you a credit that you can use towards one audiobook of your choice, a free audiobook. Before the 30 days is up, if you don't like the trial, you can cancel it and you still get your free audiobook. So go to audibletrial.com/mountainbeast, pick out a Bigfoot audiobook or a UFO audiobook or a ghost audiobook. You know, I like to listen to that kind of stuff when I'm driving long distances or right before bed. It's usually a good time to listen to creepy audiobooks. But they do have cool ones like Jeff Meldrum's Sasquatch Legend Meets Science. If you want something that, you know, encompasses the topic overall, has a lot of good information on different aspects of the Sasquatch topic, that's one I would get, is Sasquatch Legend Meets Science. So go to audibletrial.com/mountainbeast, sign up for that free trial, and get your audiobook. Anyways, today's video, Hidden Lake. This area I had been to back in 2014. I originally thought I was there back in 2015, but I went back to my photographs that I had from that first trip, and I looked at the metadata, and it said 2014. So it was, you know, a whole year before when I actually thought it was, which is crazy. That kind of goes to show, you know, when you're recalling events, how much they can just change based on you forgetting things. I was a whole year off. So 2014, I was up in this area. The hike in was really wet and rainy. It rained the whole time I was there, in fact, and I was just soaked from head to toe. All my clothes soaked, rain jacket soaked through, backpack soaked, everything inside it was soaked. Well, I'm here on the same trail as I was before, where I found the track. I'm actually not too far away from the exact spot where I found that track about a month ago, a little over a month ago. And wow, it's very wet out here. Lots of rain, and like as you can see, significantly more green than it was the last time I was out here. And when you walk through this stuff, these bushes and shrubs, you get completely soaked. So I am drenched right now from head to toe, and I'm looking forward to getting to my camp area at Hidden Lake. It's going to be a very interesting trip. I'm hoping something significant happens. This is a spot where I've had a few weird things happen now, and I'm confident that, you know, maybe we'll see something strange on this trip. At least I hope. Now, unfortunately on this trip, nothing interesting happened other than the trail ended up being closed. My trip was cut short because apparently a bear of some sort, I don't know if it was a grizzly bear or a black bear, had tried to enter somebody's tent at night. So Fish and Game was actually walking down the trail quite a ways and was, you know, letting people know that this had happened. And after I spent the night there, they actually had the whole place kind of taped off and closed off with signs saying, you know, they don't want anybody on this trail. So because of that, I just decided to do the one night. I mean, I had hiked already like 15 kilometers. I wasn't about to hike out then just because of the bear. I needed to get rest, I needed to sleep, and then tackle the hike again in the morning. So within like 24 hours, I had hiked 30 kilometers with all my gear, and it was all soaking wet. But it was nice to get to the lake again. It was 6 years ago I was there last, and I had a really weird thing happen there, which could potentially be a Bigfoot encounter of some kind. Now I'll go over that story shortly. This area really kind of reminds me of Henry Lake. If you're not familiar with Henry Lake and you haven't seen Wildman, My Search for Sasquatch, it's a little lake I went to on Vancouver Island near Port Alberni up in the mountains. Just a little lake surrounded by hills and trees, way up in the mountains, very secluded, where my dad apparently had a rock throwing experience. But yeah, this lake is very similar to that. Like, it's quiet, it's secluded, it's hard to get to, it's kind of tucked away. If you don't know it's there, you're gonna walk right past the trailhead. Like, the trailhead's actually marked with a little letter H carved into a tree, and when you see that, you know you're supposed to turn left off the trail, and then about another 1.5 kilometers you get to Hidden Lake. So they do have really nice little camp spots set up along the lake, which is really great, makes life a lot easier. But on this trip, absolutely nothing happened, and it rained the whole time. In the night, and sleeping in my tent, you could just hear the rain hitting the tent fabric all throughout the night. It would have been really hard to hear anything walking around. But back in 2014, the first time I had went to this location, I was with my stepdad and a now ex-girlfriend. And I've told this story before to a few people, and basically what happened was the second night we were in this spot, me and my girlfriend at the time were in one tent. My stepdad was in another tent a little ways away, and I had gotten up to go to the bathroom at one point, and then I had gotten back in my tent, and this was like in the middle of the night. I got back in my tent, I was about to fall asleep, and I was at that point where you're like pretty much asleep but not completely, and I started hearing footsteps outside the tent, probably about 20, maybe 25 feet away. Very heavy, loud footsteps. They sounded to me like they were something on like 2 legs, on 2 feet, something walking, almost like a person, but really loud. And so I hear 3 or 4 of these footsteps, and then I hear a loud grunt. And it freaked me out. I remember lying in the tent on my stomach and slowly going to reach the knife I had beside me, and I remember just lying there for minutes, like holding this knife in one hand, just waiting as still as possible. And the person beside me, the ex-girlfriend, she was just completely dead and tired because we had hiked to the summit of one of the nearby mountain peaks the day prior. So they were just completely out. And I'm sure if I didn't get up to go to the bathroom and then go back in the tent, I'm sure I would have just slept right through it. But because I was kind of awake still, I heard it. You never want to leave your tent in the middle of the night to go pee because you don't know what you're gonna like see. It's kind of creepy sometimes. And you know, I'm glad I didn't see anything while I was going to the bathroom. I'm glad I got back in my tent. And I don't know how many minutes it was later, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes later after getting in my tent that happened. The really interesting thing though about this story is that the first night we got to the camp, and I always forget about this part of the story when I'm like telling people, a weird thing that happened was when we got to the camp, like not long after we got there, maybe half an hour, maybe 20 minutes after we got there, we were hearing this whistling sound, and it was like a whistle, and I remember it sounded so much like a person. I was saying to my stepdad while it was happening, I'm like, this whistling sound, like, did you hear that? It sounds like a person. And my stepdad was like, no, dude, like there's birds that can make whistling noises and they sound like people. I'm like, okay, like, I'm sure you're right about that. I mean, I know there is birds that can make whistling noises that sounds similar to a human, but this was like, to me, it sounded just like a person, and it was kind of weirding me out. And it happened a few times. I am not sure if that and this thing walking by the tent the next night were related, but we do know that Bigfoot liked to make whistling noises, apparently, according to all the accounts. So many people have reported Bigfoot making whistling noises. And I've kind of experienced this too at the habituation sites in Alberta here where the tree structures are. There was one time I went out there to recover a trail camera, and I swear I was gassing up my car with a jerry can after I took the trail camera, and I swear something whistled at me. But who knows? If you don't see it, it's kind of hard to say what it is, you know, because there are lots of birds around, and, you know, we know birds can make a huge range of noises. So, I don't know. I'm pretty sure something big and massive walked by the tent, made a grunting noise, and I'm almost positive I wasn't dreaming it, but the possibility is still there. And the possibility is also there that it was something else, like a grizzly bear or something along those lines, because there are bears in that area. I just said the trail was closed the last time I was there. because a bear tried to get into somebody's tent. But like the next morning, nothing was tampered with, right? All our gear and like our food bags that we strung up, like they were as we left them. So I feel like if there was a bear in that area, it would have came up and sniffed out the tents, you know, because the food bags that we had strung up in the trees were pretty high up. So what's the next smelliest thing that's easy to get to? It's us, you know, just lying there in our tent. So that's one of the very few experiences I've had that could potentially be Bigfoot related. And like I said, I don't know for sure if it is, you know. I was in a daze, I was about to fall asleep, and I heard this thing. Was it creepy? Yes. Did I remember to look for tracks in the morning? No. To be honest, when I woke up in the morning, I completely forgot about it. I didn't remember it happened until I think we were almost hiked all the way out of there. I remember when I woke up, I was distracted because there was a pine marten trying to get into my backpack while I was cooking dinner. But very cool place nonetheless. I plan on spending more time out there this summer and in the fall. I would like to do a longer trip where I can spend maybe like 3 or 4 nights out there, and hopefully with good weather, because it sucks when it's raining 24/7. It makes everything more inconvenient. It makes filming difficult, and it's not as fun to do when you're alone. I actually have some footage of the first time I tried to tell the story, and I was going to put it in the Wildman, My Search for Sasquatch movie back when I first released it in 2016. This footage you're going to see, this was actually recorded about a week after I had gotten back from Henry Lake in British Columbia. So I'll leave you with that. Like I said, this video is sponsored by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/mountainbeast to get that free trial and get a free audiobook of your choice. Doesn't even have to be Bigfoot or mystery related. It can be anything. That's all I have for today's video, guys. I'll leave you now with that footage of me telling the story for the first time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Mountain Beast Mysteries. You know, I was out by the Nordig area, and Nordig is supposed to be a hot spot for Sasquatch activity. You know, I've done a lot of hiking around there. I'm very familiar with the area, but I've never ever seen anything. There was one time though when I was hiking. I did like it was like a 16-kilometer hike in, and I was with my girlfriend and my stepdad. And it was the second night we were there, and it was in the middle of the night. And I had just woken up to take a leak outside, and I went back in my tent, and I was just falling back asleep. I kind of snapped out of the daze I was in, because I was just falling back asleep, and I woke up to the sound of footsteps walking by the front of the tent. I don't know, they sounded like they're 20 feet away maybe, but it sounded like someone walking. And then after 3 or 4 of these footsteps, there was a grunt, like a really weird grunt. It could have been a bear, and if it was a bear, that would also be equally as terrifying as a Sasquatch. But you know, in the morning, I had totally it never bothered me. Like, I didn't even go looking for any kind of tracks for like a bear or a Sasquatch. It didn't even cross my mind to do that. But you know, could have been a Sasquatch. There's also one time, probably about 4 years ago, I was in a course called Adventure Tourism and Outdoor Recreation. It was a 2-year college diploma, and we were doing like a week-long cross-country ski expedition near just outside of Lac La Biche in Alberta. And the area, it's all wilderness, it's all forest and lakes. And one night we were on this island, because it's winter, you ski on the lakes because they're frozen. And we got to this island and we set up camp there for one night. And I could hear these wood knocks, and they were exactly like what you'd think the Bigfoot wood knocks would sound like 3 knocks, like really far in the distance. and I was with 3 other people, and they remember this. So once I heard that, I told them to listen, and it happened again. You could hear these knocks, and it seemed to be like 3 knocks, and then like a pause. And so we heard that again, and then I explained to them, because I knew that it was kind of a Bigfoot thing, and I explained to them that that's a thing like that Bigfoots would do to communicate with each other or whatever. And I also said, in a few seconds you'll probably hear some more knocks coming from the other direction if they're communicating with one. And sure enough, right after I said that, 3 knocks came from the completely opposite direction. And that kind of gave us the chills. But yeah, that's really the only close thing I've had to a Bigfoot encounter. I haven't seen one, haven't found tracks or any kind of physical evidence, mostly just hearing things at night.